A park ranger stands forward-facing in uniform of a tan flat hat, gray shirt, and green trousers. The ranger stands in a paved roadway. Behind the ranger is a house.
Hello, my name's Chris Young and I'm one of the park rangers at Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park. As you can tell today, we're not within the park bounds, but we're in the middle of a road. Actually, we're in the middle of the old mountain road as seen in the sign behind me here. Now this road is vastly important pre-Civil War and during the Civil War, especially during the Siege of Chattanooga. It's going to be on October the 3rd, today, 157 years ago, that Parker's Virginia Battery will use this road, also known as the Lookout Mountain Turnpike, the Lookout Mountain Road, the Summertown Road, the Whiteside Turnpike, the Whiteside Road, and any number of names. We're going to probably stick today, though, with the Lookout Mountain Turnpike. They're going to use this turnpike, this road, to get up to the summit of Lookout Mountain to stage their cannon. Now, Parker's Virginia batteries come down from Virginia, and they're under command of Edward Porter Alexander. Now, E.P. Alexander can be seen in this photo. He has a full beard, he's facing the camera, and he's in Confederate uniform. He's going to be over and in charge of the entire battalion of artillery. Parker's battery itself, though, is a small part of that. And one of the lieutenants, J.T. Brown, is going to write in his diary on October the 3rd of 1863 about moving those cannons up to the top of Lookout Mountain. Brown can be seen here in a post-war photo. He's older, he has a gray beard, but he's in United Confederate uniform, so it looks a lot like a Confederate uniform during the war, except that he is older and he has medals on that uniform. Brown's going to write in that diary that afternoon, on October the 3rd, that they are going to be put to work, the men are, on the road going up Lookout Mountain to haul the guns up. And so they're going to haul those guns up this road to the top of the mountain to begin taking part in that siege of Chattanooga to try to starve out the Union Army that's bottled up within the city. This road is going to become very important, not just for the siege, but in November when we get to the battles. One interesting photo that is of the Lookout Mountain Turnpike is an 1864-1865 photo, and in it here you can see a lady that's reclining on a rock outcropping, and just behind her is Lookout Mountain with Chattanooga in the distance, and below where she is leaning on the rock you can see the graded out road that is the Lookout Mountain Turnpike going up to the top of the mountain. Even though it may have been improved by Union soldiers, that is still the exact same road that Parker's Virginia Battery, their guns, are going to be using to haul those cannon up to the top of Lookout Mountain to take part in the siege. So with that, we're going to leave the old mountain road and we will see you next on a historic section of the Lookout Mountain Turnpike.
The park ranger now stands forward-facing in a wooded area. The ranger stands in the middle of a trail, and to the ranger's left is an embankment.
Welcome back, everyone. We have moved now from the old mountain road down in St. Elmo to the Whiteside Trail on which I'm standing in Lookout Mountain Battlefield, a unit of Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Park. And what you'll see behind me is not only the Whiteside Trail as it is today, but the Whiteside Turnpike. The way I'm going to refer to it, though, from now on is going to be the Lookout Mountain Turnpike. And so that's what you'll see behind me. You'll see the embankment that's kind of off to my left, your right back here. That embankment that you see is man-made. That is the digging out of the Lookout Mountain Turnpike. And so this turnpike is going to be installed, it's going to be graded out, it's going to be put in the 1850s, in the mid to late 1850s, primarily to get you to the Lookout Mountain Hotel and the small village of Summertown on the summit of Lookout Mountain. It was a resort, it was a place that you would come in summer. It had a 3-story hotel there that comprised the summer area that was called Summertown. They had chalets that you could rent, that you could live in. They had fresh water that was being pumped up from one of the many springs, Lenore Springs, on the side of Lookout Mountain. And so it was a place that people would come to get away from the heat of summer, from the diseases that were rampant in densely populated areas, and they would come to Lookout Mountain. Prior to the Civil War, Lookout Mountain was well known. It's almost like saying Niagara Falls today. Even if you've not been to Niagara Falls, you can kind of picture this gushing waterfall. Lookout Mountain is the same way. People had heard of Lookout Mountain all over the country, all over the United States. And so by the time of the Siege of Chattanooga in late September, you have those troops moving up on the Lookout Mountain Turnpike. Let's go back to the Parker, Virginia Battery. We just talked about Lieutenant J. Thompson Brown, and that on October the 3rd, today, 157 years ago, they were moving up the road. Let's go back to his diary. And Lieutenant Brown says on October 3rd, sent men to work on the road up Lookout Mountain to haul up the guns. That happens today. One of those private soldiers that are walking up with the guns is an individual named Royall Figg. So Royall Figg, a private in Parker's Virginia Battery, is going to bring those guns up the side of Lookout Mountain on this relatively graded road. Now, I didn't say not steep, but graded up to the top of Lookout Mountain, because that is your best place to besiege the Union Army in the city of Chattanooga. It's where you get to see everything. And so Edward Porter Alexander's battalions of guns will be brought up here to the top of Lookout Mountain, Parker's Battery being one of those. So Royall Figg, here's what he tells us. He says, before many days, the Parker Battery, having light 3-inch rifle pieces, was ordered to ascend it, and from thence to shell the enemy. On one side, Lookout Mountain rises almost precipitously to a height of 1,500 feet, its base being washed by the Tennessee River. The ascent, even by the regular road, that's the road that we're on, the regular road, the Lookout Mountain Turnpike, was difficult, and the command, "Cannoneers to the wheels," was frequently given, the men having to assist the horses in their arduous task. As we toiled up the steep road, glimpses of scenery of surpassing beauty were afforded here and there. So as they were coming up the road, they were getting glimpses through the trees and the breaks of the beauty of the valleys, of Lookout Valley, of Chattanooga Valley, of what you would see in Chattanooga, Tennessee, or of the city. Figg goes on to say, a halt was ordered on a plateau when we were as yet far below the top of the mountain. Opposite and within easy range was a Federal battery, which we called the Moccasin, from the resemblance of the hill it occupied to a shoe. This is referring to Moccasin Point or Moccasin Bend across the Tennessee River. The Yanks were well entrenched there and had been troubling our infantry with too many salutes. The Parker guns now opened on the Moccasin Battery, and pretty soon convinced that it had better let our infantry alone. So Parker's Battery will unhitch their guns somewhere between where we are now and below the summit of Lookout Mountain. They'll have an open view of Moccasin Point or Moccasin Bend, and the Moccasin Battery, as Figg calls it. And so those guns that were shelling at Moccasin Point were in this general vicinity, likely. But what we want to focus on is following Parker's Battery up the side of Lookout Mountain, and then we're going to reconnect with Royall Figg at the summit inside Point Park, which is part of Lookout Mountain Battlefield, at a place that soldiers generally termed Battery Point or Point Lookout, as we often refer to it today. And we'll catch up with Royall Figg as he helps the Parker Battery ascend the mountain on the Lookout Mountain Turnpike, and then some of his reminiscences about what he sees from Point Lookout. So we'll see you at Point Park in just a few moments.
The park ranger now stands forward-facing on a rock outcropping of a mountain. The valley below consists of a mix of wooded areas and some structures. In the distance, some ways, rises another mountain ridge.
Welcome back, everyone. Now we're standing at Point Lookout, the very northern tip of Lookout Mountain. What you'll see behind me and to my left, your right, is the bend in the Tennessee River that we call Moccasin Bend, the land jutting out Moccasin Point, where we heard in our last segment Royall Figg talking about the Moccasin Battery that Parker's Virginia guns were firing at on October the 3rd of 1863. By the next day, Parker's battery is up here on the summit of Lookout Mountain, and I want us to go back and listen to what Parker tells us in his narrative. He says the next morning, that would be October the 4th, the ascent of the mountain was resumed. Our eyes were feasted with the sights of grand and beautiful as we toiled upward. But these scarcely prepared us for the glory of the view from the summit. It seemed almost limitless. So I want you to think about that. The limitlessness of the summit of Lookout Mountain and the view that you're getting now is the same view that he saw in 1863. The view gave me a better idea of the infinite than I'd ever hoped to obtain, and for the moment almost overwhelmed me with emotion. The camps of both grand armies were seen at a glance. There is a jutting rock facing Chattanooga, on which I've often stood sentinel during the witching hours of the night. It juts from the mountainside several yards. From thence, every fire in the Federal Army might be seen, while the outer line, like a flaming crescent, marked its limits. Then an intervening dark space, and the opposite Confederate fires glared against the sky. So as we're panning our camera and seeing Chattanooga down below us, Moccasin Point and Moccasin Bend down below us, think about what Royall Figg is telling us, that as he's standing sentinel out here, he sees these fires down below that look like a crescent. He sees the Union fires, and then a void, and then the Confederate fires from up here on the summit. So as we move from the Battle of Chickamauga here in early October into the Siege of Chattanooga, I want us to think about what Royall Figg has told us today, what Lieutenant Brown has shared with us today. And I want us to get in the mindset of as the fall comes on and we get into the season of November when the battles are going to play out, that we take a moment and we think about how these campaigns are so closely married together, as Jim Ogden told us during the anniversary, that it's one long campaign. As Royall Figg's up here on top of Lookout Mountain, and we begin the 157th anniversary of the battles for Chattanooga.